The farmer uses a lot of big machines to work in the fields, to sow and reap rye, wheat, corn and other good produce that can be used for food, make oils or to feed animals. Big machines in the fields. First, the field is made ready. Then comes the big tractor with a huge rake that's called a harrow. The harrow has a lot of strong, sharp metal spikes that when pulled over the ground loosens the earth, making it ready for sowing. The bigger the harrow, the stronger the tractor. A lot of power is needed to pull the harrow through the soil. In the old days, a small harrow was pulled by the farmer's horse. Perhaps sometimes he used 2 horses. It took a long time, but back then the fields were not as big as they are today. This tractor is one of the largest. It has 530 horsepower. This means that its engine can pull with the power of 530 horses, and therefore it can also drag the large harrow through the hard soil. The big tractor here is one of the strongest available. It has large double wheels to keep it firm when it has to pull uphill and also to stop it sinking when the ground is very wet. With just one narrow wheel, it could easily plough into the ground when the harrow became hard to drag, and then the big tractor would get stuck in the middle of the field. The field can be made ready for sowing in several ways. Some plough the land before harrowing. When you plough, you get even deeper into the ground and bury all the old weeds and straw. As fields are getting bigger and bigger, new machines and ways to work are invented to make work in the fields easier and faster. Instead of first ploughing, then harrowing and then sowing, it's now possible to do it all at the same time with one big machine. This is a seeder, which is set on top of a large harrow. First, the earth is loosened with its strong, sharp metal spikes, and then just behind, the grain is put into the slots made by the round metal wheels. Hence, the farmer can work on the entire field just once, instead of 3 times if he had both ploughed, harrowed and sown. In return, he has to use the largest tractor he can get to pull the big seeder, which is 3 meters wide and as much as 7 meters long and weighs as much as 3 cars. If it just goes slightly uphill, the tractor must not get stuck and stand still. It mustn't take long to cross the field, so the tractor is constructed to be really good at pulling heavy objects, but not so good at driving fast. When the wheat is sown, it's important to fertilize the soil to give the wheat the best conditions for growing. Slurry is used as fertilizer, and this is actually pea and poo, the waste products from the farm animals. Slurry is really good for the field and wheat, but one should not pour too much slurry on the field, as rain can wash it into nearby water and thence the sea, and this is not good for fish or marine life. This is why great funny-looking machines are invented, to be really good at getting the slurry pushed into the ground instead of just laying on top. There is a lot of slurry in the big tank on the spreader, 14,000 litres. It's just as much as in a swimming pool. The farmer drives to the slurry tank and sucks up slurry with a pipe which looks like a long straw. It takes less than 1 minute to drink the 14,000 litres. It's not just to look good that the slurry spreader has 3 instead of 4 wheels. With 3 wheels, the spreader only comes into contact with the newly sown crop once. With 2 wheels on each side of the machine, more crops will be damaged. Inside, the cabin is completely quiet and comfortable. The cabin is large and the seat is cushioned with air, making it a comfortable ride over bumpy ground. The large slurry spreader needs plenty of fuel to run in the large fields all day long. The fuel tank contains 700 litres of diesel, which is enough for it to run for the whole day. However, it's not a fast machine, just 40 kilometres per hour. It just crawls along through the fields, spreading the slurry. When the grain is ripe and ready, it must be harvested. Out comes the big harvester and eats its way through the huge fields of golden wheat. The combine harvester has a big mouth at the front, which captures the wheat and pulls it in and cuts it down. When the wheat is cut, it's sucked into the belly of the big machine, and there it's shaken so much that the small grains fall off the straw. The grain is stored in the harvester's large tummy, while the straw is spat out behind. Sometimes straw is pressed into straw bales, but here the straw is chopped into small pieces and blown out over the field, where they'll get ploughed or harrowed in to fertilise for the next time the soil is used. When the combine harvester is full of grain, a tractor comes along with a wagon. The tractor runs up alongside the harvester, which swings out a long arm and pours the grain from its stomach into the wagon. Pretty smart that it can be done whilst it's still running, and that way the farmer doesn't have to stop. This way, the harvester and its friend the tractor carries on all day, and sometimes even at night, until the crop in the field is gathered in. Harvesting can only be done when it's completely dry. Otherwise, the damp grain will rot. This is why the farmer is always in a hurry to get the job done whilst the weather is good. If the combine harvester has left the straw on the ground instead of chopping it up, straw bales can be made, which can be saved and used either for animals in the barn or to burn in a furnace to get heat. The big baler can gather a lot of straw together and press into some large straw bales, which can be driven away and stored in a barn. The baler is a large and heavy machine, but the wheels roll easily over the field. Hence the tractor does not have to be the biggest and strongest one to pull the baler. Yet it must be a good tractor that can work fast while pulling the baler, so you can finish the fields in a hurry while the straw is still dry. If wet, the straw bales will be very heavy and they will rot and be useless. The straw must be very dry to get the best bales. The large bales are gathered and then picked up by a truck or a tractor trailer. This baler is really cool because it has room for 3 bales at the rear, which are then dropped at one place instead of 3 different places around the field, which of course makes them quicker to gather afterwards. Once, straw bales were quite small, so you could make dens and build with them. Now you can't lift them, so they're not as fun to play with.